All right, we are now live streaming on Facebook for all attendees and anyone watching on Facebook. It's just going to take a couple minutes for us to get this meeting streaming live at Macon-Bibb.us on our website. That way those without Facebook are able to watch it. It'll take just a couple minutes and I will keep you posted. She's going to.
Hey, Bert.
Are we ready to go?
We are now streaming live on Facebook and Macon-Bibb.us. So we're ready when you are.
Very good. We're out of executive session now, back in open session now. We are live streaming on Macon-Bibb as well as Facebook. So welcome everyone. We have next on our agenda some announcements. I'd like to call on our county attorney, First Assistant County Attorney Michael McNeil at this point for an update on the governor's two most recent orders, and then I'm going to follow that up with Spencer Hawkins to give us some additional information about the COVID. Michael?
Thank you, Mayor. So Governor Kemp issued two new executive orders last Monday, June 29th. The first one extended the statewide public health emergency. It was set to expire on July 12th. It's now been extended through August 11th, 2020. And that extension allows us to continue meeting remotely, such as by Zoom, for as long as that continues to be extended. And so I think that's the basis for Mayor's decision to return to Zoom meetings. And then the second order is another Empowering a Healthy Georgia order that continues the governor's reopening plans. And y'all may recall that since his first reopening order at the end of April, every 2 weeks or so, he's issued a new order that's incrementally opened the state of Georgia and opened businesses a little more and a little more each time. For the first time, this order really does not change much in terms of the reopening process. There were just a couple of small wording changes. The only real notable substantive change that I had was that he called on the State Board of Education for the first time to issue some new rules and guidance relating to operating public schools. And that specifically included allowing them to adopt some flexible definitions for school year or school day or school month. So there may be some alternative approaches being proposed for how school will resume or when school will resume. And that's really the only notable difference at this time. And that reopening order is expiring on July 15th. And so I would expect that Monday or Tuesday before, probably the 13th or 14th, we're going to get another order for the following 2 weeks.
Very good. Spencer, if you are ready and available, I'll call on you next. The only thing I'll say preceding that is that I was on a conference call earlier today with Governor Kemp and the GMA Advisory Committee. And Governor Kemp is strongly urging everyone to use face masks when they are not able to socially distance themselves by 6 feet or more, and to wear a face mask when you go out in public, into public stores, etc. And he even had a 2-day fly around tour where he was encouraging people to wear masks, but he is not going to mandate that you wear a mask. He's not getting into that. And he's saying that why do you have to mandate for people of Georgia to do what's right? They know what's right for them. And so he's emphasizing individual awareness and individual responsibility. However, I think that his urging of people to continue to do not just the mask, but social distancing and hygiene and hand washing and all of the other things to remind yourself of that is because we have had an increase in the number of confirmed cases of COVID. In fact, we've had a couple of days here recently where alarming numbers of confirmed cases have been reported and confirmed. But that still kind of leaves us with whether or not that's going to be followed by an increase in the number of hospitalizations, the increase in the number of intubations and intensive care, intubation, etc., and even death by some people. So Spencer Hawkins has been watching this situation and monitoring this, and he has come up with a 2-phase plan that I'd like for him to begin to talk about, and then also ask Robert Walker to chime in about some recent developments within our workforce. Spencer, would you go next, please, sir?
Yes, sir. I am pulling up a little bit of information here, but yes, exactly. That's something that Governor Kemp and Dr. Kathleen Toomey, the State Public Health Director, and Homer Bryson, the Director of the Georgia Emergency Management Agency, have been continually talking about since this began, and we've echoed their guidance and statements. It's a kind of a 3-phased approach. Is, you know, wear your mask when you're in public. If you're in your car by yourself, obviously you don't need to wear a mask, but as soon as you hop out to go to the grocery store, you know, put that mask on. Continual hand washing and hand cleanliness, whether it's with hand sanitizer or soap, and then social distancing. That's 6 foot of distance. Those 3 things can be extremely important in what we're looking at and what we're doing to slow and hopefully stop the spread of COVID-19. We continue, Macon-Bibb Emergency Management continues to meet with our partners here locally, you know, that are here, our emergency support function partners, as well as those partners that provide for our homeless population, those partners that run our event venues, those partners that are in local businesses and things like that, to continue to spread this message and talk about what we need to do and ensure that we get everybody on board with talking about wearing a mask, washing your hands, and 6 foot of social distancing. Those 3 things are going to be the key to what is going to help us get through, you know, this pandemic. And the mayor is correct. We have seen an increase of numbers over the last few days, a significant increase in numbers. and an increase of use of critical care beds and hospitalizations and things like that. And so, you know, with the executive orders that we have in place, we're doing the best we can to ensure safety. The mayor mentioned our phased approach plan. We put together a kind of a phase 1 and phase 2 plan that we're looking to implement here very shortly. And this is going to be done in coordination with the mayor's office, human resources, legal, and all the right departments to make sure that we're doing this appropriately. And it's, you know, watching what we're doing and making sure that, you know, we move as many as possible of these meetings to virtual meetings, you know, reduce the amount of time in the office, reduce the amount of contact that we have, you know, making the decisions as appropriate to close certain buildings or starting to limit access to only critical needs and critical functions. And so we are talking on a daily basis about what is the right steps and what's the right process for us to do this. And throughout all of this, we're making sure that we're following the science and listening to our experts in the medical community and in public health to ensure we're doing everything correctly and most importantly, safely.
Spencer, hold on right there and let me shift over. Robert Walker, are you on the call, and can you tell us about some developments within our workforce?
Yes, sir. I'm here. Just as Spencer said, we have seen an increase in cases in Georgia as well as around the United States. At this point in time, the staff at our rec centers, which we have not opened, we were looking to open those this week or maybe next week, have become very concerned with the cases and the surge and allowing the public in. We had talked about doing a phase 1 opening that would allow 25 people into the rec center at a time, but that would be a rolling 25. So if 4 people left, then we will allow 4 more in until we got up to 25. So at this point in time, I just think it would be smart for us not to open at this time until we see what's going to happen with the numbers and if they're going to go down.
And it is my understanding that we've had a couple of employees to test positive for COVID, and therefore they've had to go home and quarantine, and others. Is that right?
Is it just a couple?
Yes,
more?
sir. That is, without getting into too many details and HIPAA violations, we do have a number of employees out the government and other departments, but we do have an increased number in the rec department that we are monitoring that have tested positive, or either we still have been exposed to those employees. So on yesterday and today, I quarantined the whole rec department and ceased operations until every employee either had met with their primary or felt safe enough to come back to work on tomorrow. We do have other cases of exposure or positive tests in other departments around the county, and that we are monitoring and working with the employees. We're sending out information that they're not sick. I mean, that if they are sick, do not come to work. We do have families that have family members that have tested positive that employees feel like they've had significant exposure to. So we are asking them to also go get tested and then report back to work. But again, we're trying to have as many people that can work away from the office and be productive to do that. We're working closely with the department heads to make sure that people are being productive. If not, we're trying to do flex schedules for employees that work outside, like in our public works, solid waste and parks department. Don't want to get any further behind in some of our services. So with the continuing numbers of cases in the community, Spencer presented this plan to us that has the 2 phases. So we're currently in phase 1. He has a criteria that if I believe it's a rolling number of 15 positive cases or more for 5 days, then we would ask to go to phase 2, which will go back to some more stringent form of employees working away from the office. So we are monitoring this every day, working with the employees to make sure that they are safe internally and externally. And if any significant development does arise, I will contact you immediately.
Hey, couple things.
well, Commissioner Watkins, let me let you go, and then Commissioner Lucas, and we've got to watch our time carefully. We've got several items of new business that we need to take care of in the pre-commission and a 6 o'clock regular commission. So Commissioner Watkins and then Commissioner Lucas, be brief, but go ahead.
Yeah, so could you clarify a little bit more what you meant by quarantine the entire rec department, and then how many employees have tested positive for the COVID? And yeah.
Well, when I say quarantine, I had them stay home for the day, not being around each other. I would not like to give the number publicly, but it is a significant number that I feel that could grow if more employees are exposed to each other. So in an abundance of caution, because we started getting these reports on last Friday as employees had started feeling ill and started getting tested, and results started coming in over the weekend. We talked on Sunday afternoon, and I instructed Robert to tell all employees to stay home on Monday until we knew exactly how many were positive in the pipeline or waiting for their results, or how many had started developing symptoms, and encourage them to go get tested.
Wow. And you say just for one day or for 7 to, why not just 7 or?
Well, if they test positive, then they're medically under medical instructions to quarantine for 14 days. If they have exposure, which again, contacting HR, let's say if somebody's spouse has tested positive and they feel exposed, we're asking them to stay home until they get their results back that they're negative.
So I know during the budget time, y'all, so are y'all thinking about just go ahead and furloughing the entire department or mothballing?
No, sir, we've not had that discussion. Again, these numbers really start coming in on Friday. And again, we got other departments. As they increase throughout the community, we're just monitoring it day by day.
Okay.
But I think, Commissioner Watkins, that we are going to keep the rec centers closed for the immediate future until we make some more informed decisions.
Is that also the tennis and the water parks and Sandy Beach stuff?
No, it's just the rec centers that we're closing.
Okay.
Commissioner Lucas?
Thank you. That doesn't seem quite right, but anyway, we have watched over the weeks these numbers climb, and it's not getting any better. As a matter of fact, it just looks to me like it's getting worse and worse. And these numbers are going to come back and continue to grow. That's here in Georgia, that's in Florida, Arkansas, a number of states. And we on the Board of Health, Commissioner Allen and I represent you on the Board of Health. And we are in the process of coming up with a resolution mandating the use of masks by everybody. And so I would like to ask if we could do a similar resolution, because that is one of the sure ways that we can stem the tide. Our numbers are growing, our number of fatalities, that's growing. So I don't know when we come to the point where we realize that if we put on the mask, that we would help other folks. If we don't want to remain safe ourselves, at least we decrease the chances of infecting other folks. So I'm asking at this time if we could do a resolution that calls for the mandatory use of masks, of face coverings, which is going to be presented as a resolution from the health department. But I want our commissioners to do it as well.
Ms. Lucas, Mayor, and also commissioners, I have the 7-page resolution that came from the health department county attorney. We don't have time for me to read it off, but we need this done as soon as possible for the entire city of Macon-Bibb County. I'd like to bring it down to you first thing in the morning, Mayor, and see if we cannot get this thing passed. This came from the Board of Health, and also it's been scrutinized by their attorney, Julia. So if there's any possible way we can do this, this is something, as Elaine just mentioned, more and more people are coming down with it, and it's worse than we thought.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Mayor, real quick? Two things.
Commissioner Wynn, go ahead.
Yeah, Spencer, if you're still there with us, you mentioned that you're talking to event coordinators. I had a call from Macon-Bibb, and they're encouraging people to come down there, even though he explained the way they're going about seating people. I'm still concerned about people going to that event. That's still open. Secondly, if we have a requirement of people all wearing masks in our community, what does that do to the restaurant business? Does that have to close them back down? Those two questions.
No.
They have to wear masks.
You gotta wear masks.
Servers wear masks.
In the interest of time, let me just say this much. We will certainly be back in touch with you shortly. We'll look at whatever Commissioner Allen has got. But the governor has emphasized that local governments are prohibited from doing anything more or less than he has put in his executive order. One or two communities have now breached that and have done masking orders, but we don't know what response that's going to precipitate from the governor. But at any rate, we'll certainly be talking about this over the next couple of days. But I trust,
Mr. Mayor.
Wait a minute. I trust this limited conversation has at least satisfied Commissioner Tillman's, Mayor Pro Tem Tillman's inquiry of why are we going back to Zoom, and also to re-emphasize all of us to urge people to wear masks when they're out in public and to continue to social distance to the extent they're able to do so, and practice hand sanitizing, sneezing into your elbow, and all of the other things that we've learned. Refresh your recollection on that. And then we'll also distribute Spencer Hawkins' two-phase plan that he's prepared for us, and we'll get that to you. But I need to close this part of the conversation.
Mr. Mayor, our folks are dying and people are becoming infected with this. It's bigger than we think, and it's been growing for the longest time. We are in crisis now. And are you scared to do something are all of you scared to do something to protect this community?
No,
now,
ma'am.
that's the least we can do. Michael's sitting up there with his mask on, and he's by himself. All of us should have our mask on, because they've determined that there may be a new way of transmission where the particles, droplets, stay in the air for an extended period of time, and you come by and you're exposed that way. That's a new way. We don't know. But I do know folks over in Parks and Rec are infected. I heard 5, and then I heard 4 more. I don't know how many, but I know the department shut down. How long are we gonna wait for this thing to get totally out of whack? I'd like a resolution calling for mandatory wearing of face coverings. And those who want to support it can support it. Those who want to co-sponsor can co-sponsor. Those who don't and are scared and don't want to look out for the health of the people in this community and me with underlying health concerns, I can't be around a lot of folks. And some of you can't either, and your parents and your children. So this is the least that we can do.
Right. We'll talk more about it. And
I'm asking the legal department to draw the resolution.
I'm sure they'll do that. I'm sure they'll do that for us. But I mean, all of us now can urge people to use masks, social distancing, and others.
But they're not doing it, Mayor.
They ain't gonna do it if you mandate it either. But that's
if you warn and then do a fine, they will.
Who's going to
May I ask a question, Mayor, and of Commissioner Lucas and Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Solution, Commissioner Lucas, you were talking about the one that Commissioner Allen was talking about that was drafted.
Right. As long as it mandates the face coverings.
If we could get that, I'd like a copy of that. I get it from Commissioner Allen.
I'll bring it. Look, I can bring it to one of y'all.
Okay.
What I'd like to do, Mayor, I know we got to go. Get it to you. Couldn't you send it out to the commissioners, let them look at it, vote on it? on by, or just say, let's go with it and do a resolution Friday so we have something for Tuesday? That's what the health department wants.
It'd be 2 weeks before we can pass it unless we have a special call meeting. So we got a meeting.
That's what there's a lot of people could die within about 2 weeks.
That's why I say we can certainly urge and do what we can. So
if we passed a resolution urging you to do an executive order, would you do that?
I'm not sure that I've got the ability to do that, Commissioner Lucas.
Well, the mayor of Savannah did. He issued an executive order.
And I'm not sure what's going to happen to his funding.
He's not worried. He's worried about his people. I'm through. I want to just co-sponsor the resolution.
I understand. All right, so we'll get in additional information to you. We have 4 items on the consent agenda. But before I go into that and go through those, let me jump and say we've got 2 items of new business that we need to come out of the committee of the whole so that we can adopt tonight. One is a $4 million item for the sheriff's office for their medical services, a continuation of the contract that expired on June the 30th. So they're about 7 days now overdue. And the sheriff has asked us, please, this is Duke, Michael, can somebody talk about this? And Janice, can you read the resolution or read the caption for us?
Yes, sir. This is the contract with Correct Health. They've been the vendor for, I think, since 2009 or 2010 for medical services at the jail. And we just do a renewal every year. They provide medical and mental health services at the jail. And it's the price for this upcoming year is $4,057,391.71, and that's all budgeted every year in the sheriff's office budget.
Janice?
And the caption is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to an agreement with Correct Health Bibb LLC in the amount of approximately $4,057,391.71 payable from the sheriff's office correction budget, medical services, and mental health services line items to continue to provide medical and mental health services for inmates of Macon-Bibb County and the Bibb County Sheriff's Office from July the 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021.
So let me go to Commissioner Watkins. Commissioner Watkins, I know this ordinarily would have gone through your committee. Your thoughts on passing this tonight, sir?
Yeah, I know that typically we budget $4 million a year for this item. It is budgeted and included in the agenda. I think one thing that kind of strikes me is, this is the sheriff often talks about that his jail is the largest provider of mental health services in the county. And this is more than we spend at River Edge, our Department of Health, our DFAC services, at Navicent Indigent Care, our contributions to Daybreak, our contributions to Loaves and Fishes that provide services to homelessness. It is a larger number than all of those upfront services combined, more than we spend, also including our donation to Salvation Army and anything else that you would lump in. All right, this is a big number and it's obviously needed, but this is the way we help our homeless almost. And I think we could be a little bit more intentional, but in theory, I think we have to keep it going because this is the way that many of our homeless and folks without medical services or insurance are able to receive any type of medication for whether it be schizophrenia or bipolar or whatever is keeping them on the street. We give them 30 days of in the jail and 45 days worth of medicine. Yeah, it's a sad situation, but totally necessary.
Does this include COVID treatment? Does this include COVID?
I think it includes everything.
And face coverings?
Now that I do not know. But
I bet you it does.
Yeah, well, it may. I mean,
if it's homeless,
but I know one thing.
If
I know
it's
the
people who are in jail.
Federal courts will require you to provide adequate health care for inmates and people that are incarcerated. Can I get a motion and second on this resolution, please?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Schlesinger, second by Lucas. Further conversation? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution to authorize this healthcare extension of the contract, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. That'll be on the agenda for final action tonight. The Macon-Bibb has asked us to revise our code of ordinances to allow the sale of spirits at the ballpark on Sunday. Michael, let me ask you to talk about that.
So we're just playing back. I know the NFL has started back. The NBA still seems real cautious, but the Macon-Bibb is playing baseball game.
Right.
They were, and I was there last night.
I'm so glad we had the meeting in person.
That's what I asked about a while ago. Nobody answered the question. They're just proceeding as always. I mean, not as always.
No.
I know there's that separation between seats, but I still worry about start out selling alcohol, then they're going to start drinking and being socializing and things like that.
Michael,
yes, sir. So under state the state alcohol code, there are lots of restrictions on the sale of alcohol on Sundays, but one of the exceptions to those is that county or municipality owned public stadiums, the county is authorized to decide for itself the allowance to sell alcohol on Sundays between 12:30 p.m. and midnight at those stadiums. In the past, this commission passed an ordinance to allow the sale of malt beverages on Sundays from 12:30 to midnight, but that did not include the sale of wine or spirits, mixed drinks. And so for the rest of the week, they have a comprehensive consumption on premises license, beer, wine, distilled spirits, but on Sundays they can only do beer because of the way that our code is written. And so this amends section 4-311 of our code just to allow them to also sell wine and distilled spirits on Sundays. And that's the only change it makes. It only applies to Luther Williams Field. And the reason it's being brought on pre-commission is they have 3 Sunday games scheduled this year. They didn't have any Sunday games last year, but the first Sunday game is this coming Sunday, July 12th. And so they wanted us to at least ask you to consider it for complete passage today so that they could start for this coming Sunday. The other 2 are in August. So if you don't pass it today and you pass it in the future, then they would have maybe 2 games where they could sell on Sunday.
I hope we'll pass this because they're trying to do everything that they need to do to be socially responsible and yet keep the team going and the enterprise going. So I hope we'll do this nominal favor for them so that they can have these other sales on Sunday.
So I just got to back up. So we're just gonna keep on playing baseball with a full crowd like everything normal. It just contradicts what the director of Parks and Rec just got through telling me. I was quarantining staff. Don't we maintain, and Parks and Rec is down there?
Yes, free of charge.
So it's right in the middle of Central City Park. Seems like, so I guess I don't quite understand what our stance is on the COVID. It confuses me. We go back and forth. What's happening at the Centralplex in the City Auditorium? Are y'all planning on having a concert in the next day or 2 down there? Or like, how does this work?
If I may.
Or I can even talk about the alcohol license, yes or no.
Well, I just like to respond by saying this. And this is for every commissioner and folks that may be listening. We are all adults, and some of us are scared, more scared than others about COVID. It's just no place to try to insult each other about what we do as adults on our own individual time. Adults gonna take care of their children and make sure their children are safe. The Central City Park, the Centralplex Auditorium are rented out to management companies that pay us. And so we all are afraid and want a resolution of COVID. This thing is affecting the whole world. So being upset or mad with each other or calling each other out for whatever reason, because we're doing things and some of us are going out, it's just not right. So if we're gonna do something as a government, we can do it as a government, but we don't need to be mad because Savannah did something or Atlanta did something different. Some people follow us. And so we may want to follow them, but we really just need to try to stay together because we didn't create COVID. And we're allowing COVID, police shootings, and all of this stuff to maybe divide us. And we have to be the ones to stay sane and do what's right for the community. And let's support each other. So if the mayor went out to a baseball game, if local folks want to go out, we don't have control over that. But whatever we can do to protect the citizens, we can protect the citizens. I'm not saying it for anything else other than let's try to stay together and have a remedy to help our folks around here. That's all.
Good. And let me apologize if I was doing any type of name calling, but I would like to ask it as a matter of policy, where as it comes to our governmental facilities, are we open, yes or no? Because I'm learning as this meeting develops. In one place in recreation, we're completely closed, but in another, we're hosting events. So to me, I need to understand what our policy or maybe philosophy is when it comes to the COVID. Because I'm not clear on that, and it's hard for me to assume based on what I'm hearing. So then I expand that out. There's no way for me to assume whether or not the Centralplex is open and hosting events without me asking. So that was the purpose of I'm trying to get an understanding of what the administration's philosophy is.
Nope. Well, to be perfectly honest with you, let me call on Commissioner Jones because he's been trying to say something for several minutes, and then I'll answer your question. Mr. Jones?
Well, a couple of things, and really I was going to comment on something else, which I will, but the outside events are different. And I think if we're all concerned about our citizens, I mean, there's no mistake about that. We all care. We don't want anybody sick and we don't want anybody to die. Nobody. But it's here. We're going to have to deal with it. But there's certain liberties that are at play as well. So I think you can attend outside activities such as a baseball game that are spaced out. I think you can play tennis on tennis courts as long as necessary precautions are taken into consideration. But as far as the being able to sell wine and mixed drinks on the Sundays, and I'm in favor of that. And my only question to Michael is, and he'll have the answer. I know when this law first passed, because since I was in that industry, state law said that 50% or more of your business had to be in food. So it sounds like we're exempt from that state law, if in fact that's still the state law. But it used to be 50% or more of your business had to be in food for you to be able to open on Sunday and sell alcoholic beverages. So is that still the law, Michael?
That's correct, Commissioner Jones. As to it's restaurants and hotels is the general rule for Sunday sales. But there's a separate section in the state statute that specifically talks about publicly owned stadiums, and there is no income percentage for that section.
So I'm in favor of it, Mayor, if that helps them succeed, and we certainly want them to succeed. We want them to be taking all the necessary precautions, and I'm told they are.
Good. I'll take that as a motion to approve. Can I get a second? Second by Schlesinger and Allen.
Are we getting any revenue from that? Will we get any revenue from that?
Perhaps if that's part of the concessions, we get some of the concessions, but and then
last year was less than $250.
Yeah.
Right. But the main thing I want to respond to Commissioner Watkins, in all honesty and candor, is to say that we're analyzing each situation as it appears while we try to be consistent in what we do. Every circumstance is different. So a rec center for children and children of tender years and small children and this, that, or the other is a little different in my book than something that's primarily for adults or even adults with children that come as a family unit to watch a baseball game, indoors, outdoors, all these things we just have to take into consideration and make the best decision that we can.
So is our staff involved anyway?
Sir?
Our staff, how is the baseball game staff?
They hire their own people down there for, attendance takers, and that's their own employees. I mean, Commissioner Lucas is right. We do some of the cleanup, and
we maintain the fields.
Field preparation, but even that we asked them to do for this game recently. But at any rate,
can I just say one thing?
Yeah,
just because that's a to Commissioner Watkins' question. The only other thing in terms of our policy, and that's a policy decision about what y'all close and open, so that's up to y'all. But there's certain public property that we own that is under contract with a third party for their use that we can't restrict, as opposed to property we would own that's not under contract to a third party. And also we do have the two legal parts of this. That's one legal part. The other legal part is in terms of what we can shut down and not shut down. The governor's order, whether you agree with it or not, sets out the rules of what we have to live by as a local government. So that, I don't know if that helps you, qualify anything, but the things that we own ourselves that are not under contract, we have latitude to shut down the things we're not under contract.
So if I'm understanding correctly, are you saying that this is an instance where, one, the governor's orders prohibits us from shutting it down, and two, the contract that we've written with the Macon-Bibb organization prohibits us from stopping it as well?
And as far as Macon-Bibb is concerned, that's correct. And there may be other circumstances in different locations we can do something about, but they have a contract to use the field during certain times of year, and the government specifically provides that sporting events can go on. So, and again, as frustrating as that may be, I'm not, again, that's a valid question. Most governors have been limited very severely by the governors coming from the state. He set out the rules, and so that's the
and just, I guess, to calm me, there are some, but you're sitting in every other seat. There have been great repercussions taken at the game?
Very definitely, Commissioner Watkins. They've reduced the capacity of the stadium by about 2/3. Last night, I was the only person within 25 feet of myself at the game. So they're dramatically reducing the number of tickets sold and spacing them out in the stadium. So, at any rate, this is on adding wine and distilled spirits to the ability to be sold on Sundays at Luther Williams between 12:30 and midnight. Got a motion by Jones, second by Schlesinger. If there's no further discussion,
I wanted to, Mr. Mayor, I wanted to ask if someone, I know that the Macon-Bibb has total control over leasing of that facility down there, and they reap the money from that, from somebody who rents it, because they have a certain number of dates that we can allot to them.
Correct.
In the case of the alcohol license, how would that be handled if somebody were to have an event and they wanted to have alcohol? Would the Macon-Bibb have to sell it and reap the benefits, or how would that work?
Yes, they basically have the rights to the concessions sales, and they can either exercise their right to provide the concessions or decline it and let people bring stuff in themselves, or have a different caterer do it. But it's a right of first refusal that they have.
That's a real good deal that they've got, where we're paying for everything and they're getting all of the money, because the chair of operations is right. We didn't get, what did we get last year? $1,000,
like
200 from concessions, and what do we get from rental?
About $50,000 a year.
And that was rolled back into something else, though, wasn't it?
We bought the fans with that this year.
Yeah,
Right.
you did. You sure did. You
All right,
sure
I got a
did.
motion. I got a motion in a second. We got other business we need to get to
Against
that.
that too.
Oh, yeah. All right. Got a
Yeah,
motion
no,
in a
they
second.
pay us for
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. That'll be on the agenda for final approval a little later tonight. All right. The last thing I want to try to run through right quick. We're already 10 minutes overtime. We have 4 alcohol applications, 3 new and 1 it was tabled at a previous meeting. The 3 new ones, I think, are the first one is the Fort Hawkins package store on Emory Highway. It's an existing facility, but a change of ownership now. And there is one little caveat that you need to know and be aware of. It does not meet the distance requirements from public housing. Davis
or
Homes
a church. There's a church right there too.
All right. So it doesn't meet the distance requirements, but the license has been in continuous existence for a long time, and it continues to operate to this day. So I'm under the impression and told by the attorney's office that this is one of those situations where it's grandfathered in, even though it doesn't meet the distance requirements. It's grandfathered in. So that's the first one. They're selling it, but it's for liquor, beer, and wine package sales to go at that same location. Commissioner Lucas?
Yes, sir. I would like to ask my fellow colleagues if we could hold off on approving this until the next time, because I have had some calls. I know it's in Commissioner Schlesinger's district now, but I used to represent that when it was the old Ward 1. And I have recently gotten calls from people who say that there are fights going on up there. It's right next to Emory Highway, that busy street there, that there's a problem with the traffic in and out of that, with littering, lots and lots of trash there. And so I would just like to give us, and several people have been killed coming out of that little street.
I'm going to take your comments. I'm going to take your comments, Commissioner Lucas, as a motion to table, and I think Commissioner Watkins is trying to second it.
Okay.
Are you, Commissioner Watkins?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
Okay, so I got a motion and second to table this for a little bit further conversation. That's non-debatable. All in favor of tabling this at this meeting, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no.
Thank you.
The ayes have it, so it's tabled. Let me move on and say that the next one is with Ron Management LLC, doing business as Bianca's Grill, located at 6351 Zebulon Road. This is a new location, a new restaurant, as I understand it, and it's for liquor, mixed drinks, beer, and wine to be consumed on the premises at 6351 Zebulon Road, Bianca's Grill. That's one that has all the necessary and nothing special about it. I mean, it's got all the right application fees and so on and so forth. The next one is Janelle 2015, doing business as Neighborhood Gas and Grocery, located at 3102 Napier Avenue. It is for beer and wine package sales to go. It is an existing location, as I understand it. So again, just a change of ownership or agent that's requiring it to get this license. The fourth and final one.
It says new license on the little place where he checked. Doesn't say anything about a change of ownership, which was an option 2 down from where he checked off at.
Well, the information that was given to me, Neighborhood Gas and Grocery, 3102 Napier Avenue, corner Radio Drive and Napier Avenue. New licensed beer and wine package, gas pumps, zoning compliance remains valid as long as the owner is the same and no lapse in valid business and or alcohol license, signed by Randy Duff. That was the information I got. Now, I'm not swearing to the accuracy of the information I got, but that's why I told you what it is.
Yeah, and I'm just looking on the second page of the document that's in the packet that you gave us, where he checked off new license and didn't check off change of agent. It's an option. He just didn't. I mean, I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, it could be a change of ownership. That's different from a change of agent.
I mean,
Mr. Mayor. So that
Mike?
the commission actually approved a license for this exact same entity at this exact same location back in September of 2015. So it looks like, just looking at the legislative record, maybe it lapsed for some period of time and he's renewing now, that he'd maybe gotten out of alcohol for a year or something, and now he's getting a license again.
So that, but it is accompanied, if I understand correctly, by the sheriff's recommendation and the license fees being paid, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and planning and zoning permits, et cetera, and the ad that ran in the paper. So I've got one that was tabled, and then I've got these two. Bianca's Grill and Neighborhood Gas. And then the fourth one is one that was tabled last time for more information. And I'm not sure that we've got any additional information. Michael, you got additional information about 2311 LLC doing business as Exxon Food Mart at 2311 Pinona Avenue.
So y'all may recall, this is the Exxon Mart on Pinona Avenue. Commissioner Watkins had pointed out that this store had been boarded up for some time, and had asked how they could do a change of ownership if they had been boarded up. And so what we looked at under our code, there's no provision that they have to continue to operate within a license year. And so what happened is they renewed their license for 20, I'm trying to remember when they boarded up. They renewed their license. They had an active license when they boarded up, and now we're still within that same license. So I guess they would have renewed for 2020, and now we're still within that same license period. And so there's not a termination of the license or a revocation of the license just because they closed the store for a couple of months. It's still considered a change of ownership rather than a brand new license ad initio.
So that's the information about 2311, and that is for beer and wine package sales to go at that location. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that right, Michael?
It's actually just beer.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. It's just
beer. And
beer package sales to go, and got the planning and zoning compliance and the distance measurement form to say that it complies in the ad that ran in the paper.
Yeah, I originally thought it was something new as well, but it is a brand new store they opened, and they cut the grass and they did something that the folks up at Westgate did. They moved a lot of signs out, so. Actually had a conversation with them, and it's still a new store, and they were closed for a little while. And so I know I second the motion, but I don't think I have an issue with it.
Okay. So we've got three then that we are considering. Again, Withdrawn Management doing business as Bianca's Grill on Zebulon Road, Janelle 2015 Incorporated doing business Neighborhood Gas and Grocery at 3102 Napier Avenue, and then Exxon 2311. Doing business as Exxon Food Mart, 2311 Pinona. Can I get a motion to approve those three?
So for me, I would like you to split them out. Well, however you do it, I'm gonna be voting no. I mean, particularly for the Pinona and the Napier, and Bianca's is fine, but I think we're at the point now, and I keep making the point that we're oversaturated in that area with these type of stores. Whether or not they're planning and zoning, grandfathered in loophole, they have no material benefit to the community over there. And I think on several points, the community has written letters and showed up and did more than enough to ask for some type of cease to all of this. So,
all right. What I'll do is vote on them one at a time in the 6 o'clock meeting. But can I get a one-time motion here that you can vote against? One-time motion here to put them all on the consent agenda. These three put them on the consent agenda by Schlesinger, second by
Jones.
Jones. I've got motion and second then to issue these 3 licenses. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
No.
Got a couple of no's, but I think the ayes have it. Right. Okay. So Lucas and Watkins voted no, but I think the ayes have it. So they'll be on the consent agenda.
We've got enough.
Okay. All right. So it's 6:15, 6:20 now, actually, and I need to come out of the pre-commission meeting and start the regular commission meeting. And we're kind of flying a little blind here because we didn't get to go over the agenda for the regular commission meeting because of all of the other discussion. But that having been said, without objection, the pre-commission meeting is adjourned. And let me call to order the 6 o'clock regular meeting of the Macon-Bibb County Commission. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for being 20 minutes late starting the regular commission meeting, but I'll call to order the Macon-Bibb County regular commission meeting for Tuesday, July the 7th, and say that the first order of business ought to be an invocation for the community. And I have asked several times Commissioner Schlesinger to help us out with this. But Commissioner Schlesinger, would you be willing to say, give us an invocation and ask for God's blessing on our community during these crazy times in which we found ourselves?
I sure will. Thank you for the honor, Mr. Mayor. So let us pray. Our God and Creator, as we come before you to conduct the business of Macon-Bibb County, and in these uncertain and trying times, we gratefully acknowledge that you are the Lord our God, the God of all people, the God of all generations. We thank you. We sing your praises for our lives, which are in your hands, for our souls, which are ever in your keeping, for the signs of your presence that even in these troubled times we encounter every day, for the opportunity you have given us to serve and bless Macon-Bibb County and its citizens, and for all of your many, many gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. We pray that peace and goodwill will obtain among all the inhabitants and residents of our county, our state, and our land, and that belief in you will continue to spread its blessings among us, exalting us all in righteousness. And we pray that your most precious blessing of peace and contentment will rest upon this county so that we may do what we really need to do, and that is to serve and to bless you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Rabbi Schlesinger. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. We've got the minutes of the public hearing that was held on June the 16th, 2020. As well as the minutes of the pre-commission meeting held that same night and the regular commission meeting that was held that same night. Those meeting minutes have been distributed. Are there any changes or corrections that anybody noted that they wanted to make? And if not, can I get a motion to approve those 3 sets of minutes?
So moved.
Move. Second.
That was a motion by Wynn, I believe, or was it Lucas?
Win.
Motion by Wynn, second by Schlesinger to approve the minutes. A motion and second to approve the minutes. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Those 3 sets of minutes are approved. Next, we've got committee reports. The first committee, and it's been 2 weeks ago, I guess it was, that we had the committee meetings, but Operations and Finance Committee, and that report will be given to us by Chairman Watkins. Chairman Watkins.
Thank you, sir. The Operations and Finance Committee met on June the 23rd and took the following action. following items were approved. An agreement with Williams Communications in the amount of $74,743 for the purchases of critical spare parts and accessories. An agreement with Williams Communications in the amount of $53,193 for the purchase of batteries and power supply adapters. And purchase agreement with Peach State Ford for $71,856 for the purchase of a new or used 2018 Ford F-450 Super Duty truck. An agreement with MHC Kenworth in the amount of $211,000 for a total of $422,000 for the purchase of two Kenwood T8 8800 trucks and a McNillis 32-yard rear loader body for the solid waste management department, and an agreement with Supton Corporation in the amount of $533,900 for the purchase of a triple combination fire pumper to be paid from our capital improvement fund. We also heard from the finance director for our monthly financial report, and this concludes the operations and finance committee report.
Thank you, Chairman Watkins. Next, the Economic and Community Development Committee. That report will be given to us by Chairman Lucas. Chairman Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and fellow commissioners. I first want to thank our clerks for getting all of this stuff ready for us, because in these times we have to have a dependable staff to do so much of this stuff. So thank you, and thank you for all the emails and information too. The Economic and Community Development Committee met on June the 23rd, 2020, and we took the following actions. The committee approved the following appointment. Rachel Umana was appointed to the Macon-Bibb County Transit Authority. The committee approved dedicating and naming the extension of Little Richard Penniman Boulevard from Telfair Street to 2nd Street as Little Richard Penniman Boulevard. That just completes the naming of the other little portion of that street. The committee approved the following emergency solutions grant and economic and community development block grants. Economic Opportunity Council, Inc. to provide an emergency solutions grant of $68,000 for implementation of the rapid rehousing program. Economic Opportunity Council, and the amount is $68,000 for implementation of the homeless prevention program. Macon Area Habitat for Humanity, $112,381 for construction of one single-family home ownership unit in the Linmore Estates neighborhood on Shive Place. Macon Area Habitat for Humanity will provide neighborhood stabilization program grant funds in the amount of $110,139 for construction of one single family homeownership unit at 4228 Roy Avenue in Linmore Estates. And also the committee took the action to adopt an amendment to the Economic and Community Development Department's Community Development Block Grant budget for program year 2019 for purposes of reprogramming $182,986.72 in unused funds to other qualified recipients. This concludes the report of the Economic and Community Development Committee.
Good. Thank you, Chairman Lucas. I understand that there is no report from the Public Safety Committee. So that'll take us.
Public safety is every day, okay?
Well said, Chairman Wynn. But that takes us next to Facilities and Engineering and Chairman Jones to give that report. Chairman Jones?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Facilities and Engineering Committee met as well on June 23rd, 2020, took the following action. The committee approved the agreement with Widener and Associates for the design of the Bloomfield Athletic Complex renovation in the amount of $68,810. That's from SPLOST funds. Number two, the committee approved the quitclaim deed for the sale of property to the Community Enhancement Authority totaling 0.144 acres located at 1790 First Street, First Avenue, for a grand total of $1. And that completes the report of facilities and engineering.
Thank you, Chairman Jones. Next item on the agenda are public comments, and believe it or not, we have solicited public comments and have had a couple of them that were submitted. So this is the time for agenda comments or comments on agenda items. Michael, can I call on you to kind of summarize and give us the public input about agenda items?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have one public comment that we received on agenda items. The rest are all on non-agenda items, so we'll get to those at the end. But this comment was a letter that we received from Ariane Smith and George Crawley. And it says, Dear Mayor and Commissioners, we understand that you have put consideration of alcohol licenses at 2311 Pionono Avenue and 3201 Napier Avenue on the consent agenda for today's meeting. Once again, we ask you to consider the concentration and oversaturation of alcohol, gaming, and convenience stores in that neighborhood. As such, it's our request that you deny these licenses once and for all. You will see an analysis of the alcohol gaming establishments in the immediate area of 3201 Napier Avenue. As our analysis indicates, there are 9 alcohol gaming establishments that are less than 1 mile away from the store at 3201 Napier. If you approve this license, that will be 10 within a mile. Enough is enough. We have had enough. In the interest of reaching a permanent solution to this recurring issue, we've also attached a list of neighborhood demands that you need to address immediately. Thank you for your prompt attention to this matter. Sincerely, Ariane Smith, Community Empowerment Solutions, and George Crawley, Westside Neighbors United. And then to this letter, they attached a list of 7 different measures that they want this commissioner to take to address alcohol license issues in that area. And they attached a table that shows the stores that they identified within a mile that have alcohol and or coin-operated gaming machines. And so that'll all be made available to Janice to distribute to the commissioners as well.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. We have 3 items still before us. The first item was the Fort Hawkins package store, and that was tabled in pre-commission for additional information that we'll try to develop for you. The second is all of these licenses, let me say, are accompanied by the sheriff's certification of a satisfactory background check, the business development services certification that the appropriate fees have been tendered for the type of alcohol sought to be served or sold. The next is the engineer's certification of distance compliance, and the Macon Telegraph ad that ran in the paper. So all of these 3 remaining have all of that paperwork. Mayor Pro Tem, you got a question for me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, a comment about what Michael said, and I think commissioners have expressed the concern about a moratorium on business license for these convenience stores, alcohol. When I was on planning and zoning years back, I used to, if they had gambling machines, I was denying them left and right. And I had a reputation from folks that, you know, he wasn't going to support it, and I didn't. And the representative from the fire department had came to me, and he's the one that expressed it, said people just, you know, you're just getting a bad reputation for this. And so he said, we have them, we got them. Just do your job. You don't have a legitimate reason besides you just say they're all too close. And what it was is the ones that was in Bloomfield, they were trying to put one at Atwood and Mercer University, and that was 2 across the street. They were trying to add one at Brownlee and Bloomfield Road. That was one at Williamson Road and Bloomfield Drive and Rocky Creek. It was just so many of them. And so I think we've got to go over to planning and zoning and express our sentiments, because we're beginning to just look like folks that just, we're in this by ourselves. But these things come to us as a last minute, or we're the ultimate commissioners that approve these things. And I don't think the public realizes it, because a lot of times, Mr. Mayor, you'll say, oh, the sheriff went through it and the sheriff recommended. Well, these things go through the Planning and Zoning Commission. They go through the engineering person that signs off, the fire department, and others. And then ultimately gets to us. It first go through our business license. So it's not fair to say, oh, the sheriff has approved it and so forth, and we should approve it. It makes it seem like now we're going up against the sheriff, and we're challenging the sheriff. When we're not challenging anybody. It's so many people that these things go before, and ultimately we make the final decision. I think our conversations need to be had with those other board members of planning and zoning, the fire department, and just see how can we get a true moratorium, because these folks are not operating just trying to sell beer and wine or just gas and so forth. A lot of them are operating because there are illegal machines in there that some folks like, because if people don't like them, they won't be playing them. So I think we've asked for it. Commissioners have sponsored a resolution asking for it, and we gotta eventually do something about it. And I don't know if we're gonna do it come January, because I think as of April 1, everybody's licenses are supposed to be in. Commissioner Watkins even came up with something that says you're helping them out with being prorated. I'd just like to see us do something and have some teeth, because it makes it seem like we're just being the bad guys. But when folks are killing each other at these places that sell alcohol, then we really need to do something about it. But just somebody that's trying to have a business, and some folks are doing something legitimate. We don't know. I don't know who they are. Somebody's got to do some research and say, these are the ones that's doing right. It's sort of like the restaurants have to sell 50+1% of food versus alcohol. That's a stipulation. We need a stipulation to why we keep giving these same folks all within, like Michael said earlier, that many stores within a mile radius of each other, 10 stores. I just don't make sense. Something else is going on, and people are taking advantage of Macon-Bibb County and saying, oh, come to Macon-Bibb, we can just throw up these stores. And it's just not right. We got to do something more. And that's all I want to say.
I don't mind being a bad guy in this situation.
Well, we've got these three applications, all of which have the necessary documentation to be considered by us. And I've had a request to vote on them separately.
Yes.
So I was going to do that. So the first is Withron Management LLC, doing business as Bianca's Grill. It is at 6351 Zebulon Road, and it is for liquor, mixed drinks, beer and wine to be consumed on the premises. My information is this is a new restaurant that is opened at 6351 Zebulon Road, so it is a new permit. The committee of the whole recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the Bianca's Grill alcohol license signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it, so we'll issue that license. The second one is by Janelle 2015 Incorporated, doing business as Neighborhood Gas and Grocery. It is at 3102 Napier Avenue. It is an existing location, and I think that the attorney confirmed for us that even though it may have gone temporarily out of business, that never lost the license there, and apparently it's reopened. And
That was the Exxon one.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. So this one is what?
It was a real shady premise.
3102 Napier Avenue. Neighborhood Gas and Grill, corner of Radio Drive and Napier Avenue. It's a new license for beer and wine, got gas pump zoning compliance from Main Valley so long as the owner is the same and there's been no lapse in the valid business and or alcohol license.
So if I may, so on new business today, I think what is a significant change to the way that we propose is a significant change to the way that we license and approve these businesses. Like I said, we had public hearings and plenty of discussion about this issue prior to the point where we were talking about moratoriums. And I think me and Michael, along with assistance from planning and zoning, have come up with some great language to try to address this issue. It is not helping me or the community at all in order to, when we keep on forcing these items through. Now, I want to speak for both the Napier and the Pine, so I don't just double speak. My ideas are the same. It's not helping me or the community at all when we're forcing these along. Clearly, there are issues that need to be addressed. I'm asking that the committee table these two items. If I get a motion to table, we'll approve. Like I said, we got items that address the way we deal with this overall for next Tuesday's meeting that's on the agenda for the day for referral. So I'm just asking that we can table these. There is no rush at all for this right here. Nobody wants it. No one is excited about it that lives within the community. So please, let's not rush, because we just honor the motion to table for more conversation. So at this point, I'm making a motion to table.
I second that.
Non-debatable motion to table made by Watkins, second by Wynn. So all in favor of tabling these two alcohol license for additional information, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes seem to have it, so that they are both on the table. So we issued one license, or we will issue one license, and table the other three for additional information. That is the end of the consent agenda, and that takes us then to old business. And the first item of old business is a resolution that was sponsored by Commissioner Watkins for the issuance of a formal procurement solicitation to retain professional services for the completion of an enterprise-wide equity assessment. I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission requesting the issuance of a formal procurement solicitation in order to retain professional services for the completion of an enterprise-wide equity assessment and the provision of policy recommendations based on the findings of that assessment and for other lawful purposes.
The Committee of the Whole recommends approval. Is there further discussion?
I'll explain it a little bit if I need to.
No additional discussion. Commissioner Jones, I got you. You got a specific question, sir?
Yes, sir, I do. Refresh my memory, whether it's you or Commissioner Watkins, since he's the sponsor, what's the budget for this and where's it coming from? What's the amount of money that needed to fund it, and where is that coming from?
All right. So just as a quick refresher, so this is part in the beginning of a process to kind of recreate and retool our service delivery system to better address the outcomes that we're putting out. And I'm using the process, I think is very similar to what we went through with the pay scale study, where we're using subject matter expert to come in, review and assess our current operations, and to provide recommendations from a equity lens. Right now, we don't have, this is a request for RFP to see how much it would cost. Right now, we don't have any of that data. It's not binding us in any way to do the project or to continue, but it does allow me to get the information that you just asked on how much it would cost and what the full scope of services would and could look like.
Very good. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is an appointment to the Transit Authority, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission appointing Rachel Umana to the Macon-Bibb County Transit Authority and for other lawful purposes.
The Economic and Community Development Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is the naming of the new street, the new connector street between Telfair and Second as for Little Richard Penniman, the extension, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to dedicate and name the extension of Little Richard Penniman Boulevard from Telfair Street to Second Street as Little Richard Penniman Boulevard and for other lawful purposes.
The Economic and Community Development Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion?
I just have a question, Mr. Mayor. Is that?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a new section of road, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. It's brand new.
So we're just taking Little Richard Penniman Boulevard and extending it to where Telfair, right?
It's from Telfair to Second
Excuse
Street.
me.
And actually what you're looking at right now on your screen is that portion of new construction leading up to the bridge over the railroad tracks. There's the new bridge over the railroad tracks that's almost finished. And they tell me that we ought to be ready to have some sort of an opening ceremony toward the end of this month or the very 1st of August. So details to follow, but this is naming the road up to this point is Little Richard Penniman. And my, what a view of downtown. Whew.
Yeah, that's nice.
Further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and we got an extension of the Little Richard Penniman Boulevard. Next is a resolution to execute an agreement with the Economic Opportunity Council for some of the Emergency Solutions Grant. And I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with the Macon-Bibb County Economic Opportunity Council Incorporated to provide an emergency solutions grant in the amount not to exceed $68,000 for implementation of the Rapid Rehousing Program, with funding to be administered by the Macon-Bibb County Economic and Community Development Department and for other lawful purposes.
The Economic and Community Development Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Next is a companion resolution that sounds a lot like the one we just passed, but this is for homeless prevention. The previous one was for rapid rehousing. This is for homeless prevention, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with the Macon-Bibb County Economic Opportunity Council Incorporated to provide an emergency solutions grant in an amount not to exceed $68,000 for implementation of the Homeless Prevention Program, with funding to be administered by the Macon-Bibb County Economic and Community Development Department and for other lawful purposes.
The Economic and Community Development Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that resolution signify by saying aye. Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is item F. That is a resolution for Habitat for Humanity to provide some home investment partnership program funds and construct a house. And I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with Macon Area Habitat for Humanity Incorporated for Macon-Bibb County to provide home investment partnership program funds in the amount of $112,381 for construction of a single-family home ownership unit in the Linmore Estates neighborhood at 564 Shy Place and for other lawful purposes.
The Economic and Community Development Committee recommends approval. And boy, a new house there would be a vast improvement over what we just saw. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is a companion resolution that sounds a lot like the one we just approved. It's another resolution to approve an agreement with Habitat for Humanity for our house at a different location in Linmore Estates. I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with Macon Area Habitat for Humanity Incorporated, whereby Macon-Bibb County will provide Neighborhood Stabilization Program 1 grant funds in the amount of $110,139 for construction of one single-family home ownership unit at 4228 Roy Avenue in the Linmore Estates neighborhood and for other lawful purposes.
The Economic and Community Development Committee recommends approval. Oh, my. And that would be a
Mr.
vast
Mayor.
over that line. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Mayor, what's so great about this program is that the potential homeowner puts in sweat equity. They actually assist in building their own home and then they pay for it.
Right.
So I just think that's an ideal way to increase home ownership, and then somebody can say, I helped to build my own home.
Excellent point. Excellent point. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is item H, which is an ordinance to adopt an amendment to the Economic and Community Development Department's block grant budget for purposes of reprogramming some of the funds. And I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
An ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to adopt an amendment to the Economic and Community Development Department's Community Development Block Grant Budget for programs for the year 2019 for purposes of reprogramming $182,986.72 in unused funds to other qualified recipients and for other purposes.
The Economic and Community Development Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The ordinance is adopted. Next, item I is a resolution for professional services in regard to Bloomfield Athletic Complex, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to approve a professional services agreement with Widener and Associates Incorporated for architectural and civil site design for the Bloomfield Athletic Complex renovations in the amount of $68,810 to be paid from 2018 SPLOST proceeds, Parks and Recreation, Bloomfield line item, and for other lawful purposes.
The Facilities and Engineering Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is a resolution to quit claim a small lot in Pleasant Hills to the Community Enhancement Authority so they can build a house on it. And I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to authorize the mayor to execute a quit claim deed for the sale of property to the Macon-Bibb County Community Enhancement Authority totaling 0.144 acres located at 1790 First Avenue for $1 for other lawful purposes.
The Facilities and Engineering Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Item K is an agreement with Williams Communication for some spare parts. And I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute a purchase and sales agreement with Williams Communication Incorporated in the amount of $74,743.22 for the purchase of critical spare parts and accessories to be paid from the general fund, computers and hardware, IT line item, and for other lawful purposes.
The Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. I don't, oh, there's a walkie-talkie. That's what those are.
Yeah.
Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion?
Yes.
So,
so we supposed, this is for just this money that we're approving are just for those walkie-talkies that we just saw?
No, sir. I think it's more than that. I think that was just kind of illustrative as for the purchase of critical spare parts and accessories.
That's that pretty switch and bait for the. This thing started last year. I want to just remind commissioners. I know that most of us probably gonna support this, but it started last year where they continued to ask for money to do different things. Until we get somebody in that department that understand and know what's happening, we're going to continue to spend money, and we're going to continue to be vulnerable in our IT department. So I don't support giving them any more money until that department changes. And I think we're going to see continuous before by the end of the year, they're going to be coming back asking for more and more until we change that department and get somebody in there that knows what they're doing. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. And the only thing I'll say is that the attachment to the purchase and sale agreement identifies routers and omnidirectional signals and antenna and net clocks and switches and surge suppressors and a lot of different things. It appears to be a pretty comprehensive list of what is characterized in the resolution as critical spare parts and accessories to be paid for out of a budgeted line item. Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no.
No.
Got one no, but the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. All right. Next is a companion resolution, and it's with Williams Communication in the amount of $53,000. So Mayor Pro Tem was right; they already back asking for more money in the next resolution. And this is for batteries and power supply. Now, I'll ask the clerk to read that back at.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute a purchase agreement with Williams Communication Incorporated in the amount of $53,193.55 for the purchase of batteries and power supply adapters to be paid from the general fund, computer hardware, IT line items, and for other lawful purposes.
The Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution.
Yes, sir. I had.
Commissioner Lucas, did you?
Thank you. Yes, I just want to piggyback on what Mayor Pro Tem has said. We have not really sat down and looked and had somebody who knew what they were looking at to tell us where we were as far as our IT is concerned. We have spent lots and lots of money, but we don't have a clue as to how complete our system is. We were told, we know it's in bits and pieces, and we had to buy this system and that system. And then we had someone to come in and do something at the courthouse, and we need to get an update or report as to how complete that system is over there, where they're able to talk to each other. We just need an update. We need a complete report as to where we are, the status of our IT, and whether we're protected, because we bought equipment to safeguard our system and our information and all that. So we do need to find out where we are, and we probably need to do it before this commission leave some of the members on here because you remember what we talked about already. So I just wanted to make those remarks because I'm not sure we're up to par, and maybe an internal audit or some kind of audit of where we are as far as our IT, because I'm fearful that we've already been hacked, haven't we? Weren't we hacked? Wasn't our system?
I think that was the water authority that.
Yeah, we haven't been hacked.
Well, something happened.
I'm not aware.
Yeah, no, we've had a couple of those things where our website went on our website. I remember that.
Yeah.
To rush somebody.
Well, we can certainly look.
Anyway,
at
my point
trying
is
to get
made.
additional
We need to look
information.
at it. Let's just.
All right. Okay. But in the meantime, the resolution for $53,193.55 for batteries and power
Commissioner
supply
Jones
adapters.
trying to
Commissioner Jones would like to
Oh,
speak.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Jones. Let me call on you, sir.
Yes, sir. I think the comments are well taken, and we do need an accounting someone, because this is not what we do for a living, and it's not our expertise. And that's a lot. $53,000 is a lot of money for batteries and adapters, but I don't have the knowledge to know the system or know what's needed or what those things cost. So I think the comments are well taken, and we need to have somebody come in and give us an update and some sort of analysis on where we are and why we're continuing to spend so much money.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. We table this until we find out what we're doing, because I dealt at it with the old county, and I knew what the issues were down there. And this is just getting out of hand up here. I'd like to ask for a table.
Second.
Got a motion by Allen to table and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Tillman, non-debatable. All in favor of tabling this for further discussion later, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
No.
I got a split here. I need to have a roll call vote so that I can tell if you got five people in favor of tabling this, or whether we can move forward with this. So, Janice, will you call the roll?
Yes, sir, I will. On the motion to table, Commissioner Tillman, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Bivens, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Lucas, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Schlesinger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Shepard, how do you vote?
Yes.
Wait a minute.
Commissioner Watkins, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Wynn, how do you vote?
I'm gonna vote the same way I voted the first time, which is no.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. The motion to table passes.
Can we move to reconsider the previous item?
I wish you wouldn't. That one says it's critical spare part. And wait a minute, let me finish now. When these things go through a committee, and I think I'm preaching now, but when these things go through a committee, and the committee has the ability to ask questions and satisfy themselves and this, that, or the other, and bring it out here, and then all of a sudden, even though it's gone through a committee now, everybody wants to table it. Kind of undoes me, because that's what committees are for, and that's why.
Well, so in fairness,
continue to.
Oh, now.
In fairness, as
the table, Mayor, was just to try to get
now.
him to bring us some information. We need information, Mr. Mayor.
As the committee chair, I'll remind everyone that we had very low attendance due to the COVID. That was the first time that we were asking people to be in the thing. We barely had a quorum, period. So it's totally within reason that folks got questions for the initial time. Like, a lot of people were not present at last week's committee meeting.
May I remind commissioners also that last year we spent $200 and some thousand on what we call a mainframe. And at the time, Dr. Moffitt says, "Oh, this is it. We won't need anything else." And And I said it then, I didn't support it. And I said, you'll be coming back because that department needed to change.
Well,
And
let's move on so we can get through the rest of the agenda.
Let me just finish up. So if the administration will bring the folks in and let's have a conversation to see where we are, whether we need to go into executive session or what. But I just think it's time to do that and to see exactly where we are, because when we're talking about safety,
he'll be here next week. He'll be here next week to talk about this, and we'll ask him to try to give us a report at that point in time. But next item is item M.
Second to reconsider, the motion to reconsider. Commissioner Lucas had a motion to reconsider the previous item in IT, and I second the motion.
And we voted for it, so we can move to reconsider.
All in favor then, is there further discussion now? Let me see, who's my motion to reconsider?
Lucas and Tillman.
I've got motion to reconsider by Lucas and Tillman.
Second.
Right, so therefore, is there further discussion? As far as I know, that's a debatable item. So is there further discussion? Then let me say this. Now. Let me please say this. You got what I think you really want, which is you derailed the one we just talked about, and bringing him up here to answer questions and kind of delve into this. I would respectfully request that you not undo this previous one about critical spare parts and accessories kind of thing that we just passed. I wish you would let that one go, and you table this one so he'll be here next week on the 14th.
All right. Well,
that's all I'll say about that.
I appreciate that, and since I have a vote on that, I think what would need to happen is if you can assure that you will get Dr. Moffitt and Julie to follow up with that department, have them over to explain some stuff, because again, people, I'm hearing some stuff, and I tell you, sometimes I'm always surprised when you don't hear the same things that I hear. And so there's a problem over there that needs to be resolved, Mr. Mayor. And so keep throwing money at this issue. Now, I started last year, and I had a meeting with Commissioner Watkins, Dr. Moffitt, that department, and some other folks. And there was some serious issues. And I just don't know how much of it that we have resolved. So just give us an update on how much of it have we resolved.
I will certainly have him here next week if, unless something terrible goes wrong and he's not available. I'm out of work session.
Well, Julie, Dr. Moffitt,
we'll get him up here. Either he's got to come back for the one that we just tabled. So we'll try to get something done there. And then if you want something a little bit more in depth, perhaps we can even do a work session on it if you want him to do that.
And if any commissioner wants to call me, I'll be glad to share the information with them.
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion to reconsider, because I think the point has been made that we want to look at this, but I think it's going to be necessary to look not just within the department, but to have someone else who knows that our kind of system to tell us that they're doing what they need to do, or that we have all the parts of this system in place, because I have a feeling it's really not in place.
Commissioner Lucas has indicated she will withdraw her motion for reconsideration. Is there anyone else who wants to make that motion? Then hearing none, we'll move on. And thank you very much, Commissioner Lucas. That takes us to item M.
Just because I'm being nice today.
Yeah, we are. We're trying to get along. That's exactly right. So we got item M, which is purchase and sale of some heavy-duty trucks. And I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute a purchase and sales agreement with Peach State Ford, LLC, $71,856.77 for the purchase of a new or used 2018 or newer Ford F-450 Super Duty truck, with funds to be paid from the Capital Improvement Fund, vehicle and equipment maintenance, vehicle line item, and for other lawful purposes.
The Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion?
Just a question, Mayor.
Commissioner Jones.
I'm in favor of it. It's just strange the way it reads, a new or used 2018 or newer Ford. So it's curious the way it's worded.
As long as it doesn't exceed the price of $71,000, they've got options.
I hear you, but it's just a strange way to word it.
I mean, I'm not sure either, but the only thing I would say is that an F-450 truck, by the time you find it, it may be, the one you were looking at's gone. But as long as it's got this budget cap on it, you know what you're gonna spend. So get the one that comes the closest for that amount of money. So the Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is item N, which is a purchase of some additional equipment. MHC Kenworth LLC is the dealer for the purchase of two Kenworth T880 trucks with a rear loader body. And I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption. I hope we got a picture of this. I'm like Commissioner Lucas.
Yep,
I want
me
to see a
too.
picture of this.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute two purchase agreements with MHC Kenworth LLC, each in the amount of $211,350 for a total amount of $422,700 for the purchase of two 2021 Kenworth T880 trucks with McNeilus 32-yard rear loader body to be paid from the Solid Waste Management Fund, Solid Waste Landfill, machinery and equipment line item, and for other lawful purposes.
Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion?
And there it is.
There it is.
Impressed.
Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Resolution is adopted. Next is a purchase agreement for a fire truck. I hope we got a picture of this one too. So I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute a purchase agreement with the Stupin Corporation in the amount of $533,900 for the purchase of a triple combination fire pumper to be paid from Capital Improvement Fund, Fire Department, Vehicles line item, and for other lawful purposes.
Operations and Finance Committee recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye. That's fire department, right?
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. That takes us to item P, which is something that we talked about in pre-commission. This is the health services for the LEC and the renewal of that contract. I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to the agreement with Correct Health Bibb LLC in the amount of approximately $4,057,391.71 payable from the Sheriff's Office Correction Budget, Medical Services, and Mental Health Services line items to continue to provide medical and mental health services for inmates of Macon-Bibb County and the Bibb County Sheriff's Office from July the 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021, and for other lawful purposes.
Committee of the Whole recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Next is a modification to the alcohol sales to allow wine and distilled spirits at Luther Williams Field on Sundays, and I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
An ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to amend Section 4-311 of the Macon-Bibb County Code of Ordinances to allow for the sale of wine and distilled spirits at Luther Williams Field on Sundays from 12:30 p.m. until midnight and for other lawful purposes.
Committee of the Whole recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
No.
Got one no, Commissioner. Got one no,
two.
Commissioner Lucas.
Bibbins.
One. I'm
No,
sorry.
Commissioner Bivens is no.
Commissioner Bivens and Commissioner Lucas. Is that right?
Right.
No, I think we
Well,
just
that's
got
some-
those
I thought it was three.
got those two, Lucas and Bivens. Anybody else is a no? Then the ayes have it and the ordinance is adopted. The item R is a resolution to submit to the Middle Georgia Regional Commission the 5-year short-term work program about which we had a public hearing earlier this afternoon. I'll ask the clerk to read that by caption.
A resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission approving the submission of the Macon-Bibb County 5-year short-term work program and capital improvement element to the Middle Georgia Regional Commission for compliance review and for other purposes.
A committee of the whole recommends approval. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. That takes us to new business, and we have several items of new business that have come down thus far for our committee meetings that will be next Tuesday beginning at 9 a.m. but by Zoom. We're going to have Zoom committee meetings again next Tuesday. New business thus far. Item A is an ordinance to repeal and replace Chapter 17, Article 2 of the inaugural Code of Ordinances of Macon-Bibb County to substitute the word board for the word commission in the name Tree Commission to amend the composition thereof. That's sponsored by Commissioner Lucas. I'm going to refer that to the Economic and Community Development Committee. Item B is an ordinance to amend certain sections of Chapter 4 of the Macon-Bibb County Code of Ordinances for the purpose of categorizing and regulating certain classes of small footprint retail stores to require the sheriff's approval of security camera systems for certain establishments. That's sponsored by Commissioner Watkins. I'm going to refer that to the Public Safety Committee. Item C is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a professional services agreement with AgTag USA LLC in the amount of $45,000 for the decommission of the legacy mainframe system in the information technology department. That sounds like we're going to have the IT folks here anyway for something new and something old, to be paid from the general fund, information technology, IT, the legacy system professional services consulting fees line item. I'm going to refer that to the Operations and Finance Committee. Excuse me. Item D is a resolution to authorize the mayor to execute a work detail agreement with the Georgia Department of Corrections in the amount of $345,226 for the purpose of hiring offender work details from McKever Probation Detention Center to be paid from the general fund for public works, street and road contract labor line item, and the general fund parks and beautification contract labor line item. I'm going to refer that to the Operations and Finance Committee. Item E is a resolution approving a request for the installation of 5 street lights on Fleming Drive pursuant to Article 10 of Chapter 29 of the Macon-Bibb County Code of Ordinances to be paid from the Facilities Management Budget Services to Government electricity line item. I'm going to refer that to the Facilities and Engineering Committee. Item F is a resolution to rename the Wise Avenue Park as the Dr. Betty Talbot Park in honor of Dr. Betty Talbot's contributions to the Macon-Bibb County community. That's sponsored by Commissioner Lucas, and I'm going to refer that to the Economic and Community Development Committee. Next is a resolution to name the Triangle Park at Telfair and Elm Street as Reverend Jacob Parker Memorial Park in honor of Reverend Jacob Parker's contribution to the community. That also is sponsored by Commissioner Lucas. I'm going to refer that to the Economic and Community Development Committee. Finally, item H, excuse me, that ain't finally, that's the last one on this page. Item H is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a professional services agreement with Cornegay Engineering Incorporated in the amount of $1,000 for the purpose of providing a structural inspection report regarding the structural integrity of the Transco coal tower. That'll be paid from the mayor's contingency fund. I'm going to refer that to the committee of the whole. Item I is a resolution to authorize the mayor to execute a professional services agreement with Lanier Plans, DBA Corecat, in the amount of $60,424.30 for the delivery and installation of new playground equipment at Carolyn Creighton Park, to be paid from the Capital Improvement Fund, Recreation, and other equipment line item. I'm going to refer that to the Operations and Finance Committee. Next is a resolution, item J, resolution reappointing Chief Marvin Riggins as a member of the Region 5 Emergency Medical Services Council. I'm going to refer that to the Economic and Community Development Committee. Item K is a resolution authorizing the mayor to proceed with the Macon Action Plan proposal calling for the creation of a plaza on Cotton Avenue at 2nd Street and to provide for the relocation of the monument thereon to Whittle Park. This is sponsored by Commissioner Virgil Watkins. I'm going to refer that to the committee of the whole. Item L is a resolution of the mayor and commission of Macon-Bibb County, Georgia, to adopt the Economic and Community Development Department ESG Home and CDBG proposed budget for fiscal year 2021. I'm going to refer that to the Economic and Community Development Committee. Next is item M, a resolution authorizing the acceptance of a juvenile justice incentive grant from the State of Georgia Criminal Justice Coordinating Council for fiscal year 2020 in the amount of $383,615 with no local match awarded to the Macon Judicial Circuit Juvenile Court. I'm going to refer that to the Operations and Finance Committee. That's all of the new business that has come down thus far, but please be sure and check your agenda that comes out on Friday afternoon for additional items that may come down between now and then. Yes, sir. Commissioner Allen?
Mr. Mayor, I sent that resolution to County Attorney Duke Gruber. He has it with himself right now. I'm hoping you will be able to take a look at it, notify the commissioners, and let's see if we can't get something done about that before next week, if all possible, sir.
Okay, we'll look at that. This is the one about requiring masks or that kind of thing. Okay, we'll look at that, Commissioner Allen. We do have, believe it or not, we advertised for and received a number of comments on non-agenda items, which is reserved for this last item on our agenda. Comments on non-agenda items, and Michael is going to kind of characterize them and kind of give you pros and cons and the number of them, but he's going to summarize them, but make them available to you if you want. But Michael, let me call on you at this point to read public comments on non-agenda items.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we received about 30 public comments on non-agenda items. And so because of the volume and because of the length of, some of them were fairly lengthy, some of them included pictures and things like that. And so because of that, it's not effective or efficient to try and communicate that verbatim over Zoom, but all of these will be made available in their complete form to any commissioner that wants it through Janice Ross. The first, and I've grouped these by category, by topic of discussion, but the first set of comments we received 3 comments regarding the conduct of public officials. Elisa Finch commented to express her viewpoints on the upcoming mayoral election, and she expressed some concerns about just generally about Commissioner Lucas. Jesse Dominy and Loretta McCraney also each separately wrote in comments to express concerns about certain recent Facebook posts made or shared by Commissioner Lucas. We received 23 comments regarding the Confederate monuments downtown. The people that wrote in comments opposing moving the monuments were Echo Halstead Burrell, Paul E. Lyles, Renee Sullivan, LaDonna Johnson, Julia Nicholson, Charles Kellum, MD, Mr. and Mrs. Stephen Jenkins, Robin Spence, Mike Waits, U.S. Navy Reserves retired, Myrna Findley, Richard Thompson, Oscar Ferreira Jr., Dave Grant, Fred Bone, Ken Ward, Cheryl Altman, Stephen Jump, Greg Head, Peggy Dunning, and Donald Richardson Jr. We also received a comment from supporting the movement of the monuments from Katie Hazelhurst Powers, who identified herself as a fifth-generation Maconite, and from Susanna C. Maddox, the editor of Macon Magazine. We received what appeared to be a cutout of an article or a letter from the editor that she had published in Macon Magazine supporting moving the monuments. Lastly, received a comment from Beth Huff, commenting that the commission should not be discussing the Confederate monuments at all, but should instead erect something to honor Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. We received 5 comments concerning the Macon tennis program. Attorney Dana Johnson wrote to express concerns about the management of Amy Pazahanik and the collection of fees from various components of our tennis program. There is a group calling itself ROAR Petition, R-O-A-A-R Petition, that wrote in to express concerns about the collection of fees at Macon-Bibb County tennis facilities and about certain Facebook posts made by Amy Pazahanik relating to images of a car and a boat that she had posted. These ROAR petitioners also sent in an 18-page document entitled Petition and Humble Request for Action by Macon-Bibb County Board of Commissioners and Relevant Officials to thoroughly investigate and find in favor of the petitioners or come to a compromise for the return of our independent contractor coaches to JDS, Tatnall, and South Bibb. We received a comment from Mr. Brad Smith that he was concerned about the manner in which the tennis manager's contract was awarded and the collection of fees from tennis centers. And we received a comment from Christine T. Samet and Meyer H. Samet that they disapproved of having a non-Maconite operate the tennis centers and expressed concerns that local tennis players and coaches have not been welcome at the centers. And then lastly, we received one public comment from the group Georgia Women and Those Who Stand With Us to urge the immediate enactment of a mandatory countywide face covering requirement. And so those are the topics of all the public comments on non-agenda items that we received. As I said, some of them were quite lengthy, and so all of those are available through Janice in their complete form. And any of you that want any of some or all of them upon request, she stands ready to give those to you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Michael. Good job. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Are there any points of personal privilege, Commissioner Lucas?
Thank you. I just want to thank the 3,610 residents of the District 3 that voted for me, even though I was unopposed in this race. I am just so grateful, and I will continue to represent for these 4 years in the very best way that I can. But I just wanted to express appreciation. To get that number of votes with no opposition was just great, and it was very rewarding. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. Any other points of personal privilege? If not, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
And without objection, we are adjourned. Good night.
You ought to call Elaine. I think it bothers